When I came home for the summer, I expected the usual. Awkward small talk with mom, reheated leftovers, and my childhood bedroom still smelling faintly of teenage cologne and dust. I didn't expect her. Karen. Technically, she's my mom's best friend. Has been for years. I remember her from barbecues, birthdays, and loud girls' nights when I'd lock myself in my room to avoid the chorus of wine-fueled karaoke. But I hadn't really seen her in a long time. Not until now. The moment I walked in that first afternoon, duffel bag slung over my shoulder. She was standing barefoot in our kitchen, leaning casually against the counter, sipping from a glass of white wine like she owned the place. Tight jeans, a fitted black tee, hair pulled into a loose bun. She looked up, smiled, and tilted her head. "Wow," she said, setting the glass down. "Is this the same kid who used to hide from me during pool parties?" I laughed. "Maybe, but I think I've grown a bit since then." "Oh, you've definitely grown," she said with a sly grin, and then added, "Don't tell your mom I said that," followed by a quick, unmistakable wink. It should have been nothing, just a joke. But the way her eyes lingered on me a half-second longer than they needed to, it buzzed under my skin. Later that night, Mom apologized for being so busy. "There's a real estate conference in Austin next week," she explained while scrolling on her phone. "Karen's crashing here for a couple nights. Hope that's not weird." "No, it's fine," I said, pretending I didn't notice how Karen had just walked past in a robe that hit mid-thigh. The first evening passed quietly. We all sat in the living room, some random rom-com playing on the TV, but Mom went to bed early. She had emails to finish, as always. I stayed up, half watching the movie, when Karen came back from the kitchen holding a second glass of wine. "Didn't think you'd still be up," she said, handing it to me without asking. I took it. "Didn't think you'd be handing me wine like I'm not still technically your friend's kid." She smiled. "You're not a kid anymore. That much is obvious." I sipped the wine and tried not to look at her legs tucked under her on the couch. We didn't talk much after that. Just sat in the comfortable, charged silence. When the credits rolled, she stood up and stretched. Her shirt lifted just enough to show a sliver of skin at her waist. "Night, handsome," she said softly. I turned off the TV and sat in the dark for a long time after she went upstairs. The next morning, Mom was already out at meetings. I came down in sweats and found Karen in the kitchen making eggs, music playing low from her phone. She moved with ease, dancing slightly as she flipped an omelet. "You want coffee?" she asked. "Yeah, that'd be great." She poured it for me, added cream without asking. "Still take it the same? How do you even remember that?" I asked, genuinely surprised. She shrugged. "Some things are hard to unlearn." We sat across from each other at the table, her foot brushing mine by accident, or maybe not. I stayed there a moment too long. "You seem different," she said after a pause. "Good different. Let's just say your voice dropped, your shoulders filled out, and you finally learned how to hold eye contact without blushing." I chuckled nervously. Then she added, "But don't tell your mom I said that," and winked again, this time slower, more deliberate. That evening, Mom was running late again. "You two okay for dinner?" she asked on the phone. Karen mouthed, "We'll survive," and ordered sushi. We ate on the patio, lights strung above us, warm breeze in the air. She opened another bottle of wine. I didn't resist this time. "You always this quiet?" she asked, leaning back in her chair, one leg crossed over the other. "Only when I'm trying not to say something I'll regret." Her eyebrow rose. "Now you've got me curious. I laughed. Forget it. Oh, I won't, she said, eyes glinting. But I'll pretend. We stayed out there talking until it was too dark to see the sushi containers. When I finally got up to go inside, she stood too. I brushed past her, and she didn't move away. Her shoulder grazed mine. She smelled like coconut shampoo and white wine. You know, she said, barely above a whisper, your mom still thinks of you as a teenager. And you, her lips curled into a smile. I think you're full of surprises. Then she walked in, hips swaying like punctuation. That night, around 1 a.m., I went downstairs for water. The kitchen was dark, but the fridge light revealed her silhouette, bare feet, loose t-shirt falling off one shoulder, shorts barely visible. Oh, she said, turning. Did I wake you? No, couldn't sleep. She leaned against the counter, sipping water from a wine glass. Her eyes found mine. You know, she said, you've got this quiet confidence now. It's unexpected. Unexpected how? Like I could say something inappropriate right now, and you wouldn't run from it. My pulse jumped. Try me, I said before I could stop myself. She smiled, walked a little closer. You're dangerous, she whispered. And then she brushed past me with a laugh, whispering near my ear as she passed. But don't tell your mom I said that. And again she winked. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay there, staring at the ceiling fan, still hearing her voice in my head. You're dangerous. And the way she said it, like she liked the idea. Morning came too fast. I shuffled downstairs and found Mom already dressed. Laptop open, phone pressed to her ear. She waved at me with a distracted smile. I've got back-to-back meetings today, she mouthed, then slipped into the dining room to pace. Karen wasn't in sight. I made coffee, my brain a fog of guilt, confusion, and something else I didn't want to name. I replayed every second of the night before. The way her arm brushed mine, her whisper, that wink, the heat behind her words. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I wanted it to be more than it was. But then she walked into the kitchen. She was wearing a pale blue tank top and soft cotton shorts. Hair still a little damp from the shower. Barefoot again. And when her eyes met mine, she gave me that same look. Not flirty, not innocent, just knowing. Sleep okay? She asked, grabbing a mug. Barely. Too warm in that little room? She asked casually, stirring sugar into her coffee. Something like that. She leaned against the counter across from me, taking a sip, not breaking eye contact. You seemed tense last night. I nearly choked on my coffee. She smiled, unfazed. I'm kidding. Kind of. And then again, don't tell your mom I said that. Another wink. This time I didn't look away. That afternoon, Mom left for an overnight work retreat. She barely had time to hug me goodbye before racing out the door. Karen's still here, she called out. Be nice to her. She might stick around another day. Be nice to her, as if I had a choice. Karen and I barely spoke for a few hours. I holed up in my room, pretending to be busy with emails and job hunting, but my mind was elsewhere. By the time the sun dipped behind the trees, I heard music drifting through the hallway. Soft jazz, warm and crackling from our old Bluetooth speaker. I followed the sound to the living room. She was there, of course, sitting on the couch, glass of wine in hand, hair tied up loosely. The setting sun painted her skin gold. She looked up and patted the couch beside her. I'm not going to bite, she said. I sat. Not too close, not far either. We talked, for a long time, about nothing: music, travel, the weirdness of adult friendships. Then about real things. Her last breakup. How she never had kids, but thought about it sometimes. How it felt to be wanted for the wrong reasons or not wanted at all. She grew quieter as the sun disappeared. She was staring at her wine glass when she said, "Sometimes I wonder how many versions of me exist, depending on who's looking." I turned to her. "What do you mean?" "My friends think I'm confident. Men think I'm sexy. My mother thinks I'm too loud. Your mom thinks I'm stable." She looked at me. "And you?" I hesitated. "I think you're all of those, and something else." "What?" "I don't know, but it keeps me awake." She didn't smile this time. Instead, she reached over, gently touched my arm. Her fingers stayed. "You really don't see yourself as a kid anymore, do you?" I shook my head. "Not for a long time." We stared at each other, and I knew if I leaned in, she wouldn't stop me. My heart was pounding. Her hand moved down to mine. "This is a bad idea," she whispered. "Yeah," I said, "but you're still here. So are you." The air between us buzzed. And then I leaned closer. We didn't kiss. Not really. Our foreheads touched. Her breath mingled with mine. Her fingers tightened on mine. Then, like a spell breaking, she pulled away. "No," she said softly. "Not tonight. Not like this." I nodded. "Okay." She stood slowly, still holding my hand. "You're making this harder than it already is," she whispered. "I know." She walked toward the hallway, then turned back. "Promise me something. Anything. Don't tell your mom." "That you said that?" She smiled, tired this time. "No. Don't tell your mom I almost made a mistake." She disappeared into the dark hallway, and I sat there for a long time, hearing her footsteps upstairs. The next morning was different. Karen was distant, polite, kind, but distant. No winks, no touches. By noon, she was packing up. "I've got to head out," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "You don't have to." She paused, then looked at me. "We both know I do." We stood by the door, neither of us moving. "Last night," I started. She cut me off gently. "Didn't happen." I nodded. She stepped closer, pressed a kiss to my cheek, so soft it almost didn't land. Then she whispered, "Maybe in another life, or maybe just not under this roof." And with that, she left. Weeks passed. Mom never mentioned her. Neither did I. But sometimes, when I hear jazz playing in a cafe or catch a trace of coconut in the air, I remember that night and the woman who saw me for who I was becoming, then left before either of us became someone we couldn't forgive.